my name's Guise, and the comms campaign I wish I'd done is Refuge's Don't Cover It Up campaign. This campaign starts with a really important stat. More than half of teenage girls aged 13 to 18 have experienced violence at the hands of a partner and considered it normal. Of these, barely more than a third of late teens would know where to go for help if they experienced that type of violence. There was also other really shocking stats around young boys' attitudes to domestic violence, with 75% of boys thinking it's acceptable to commit domestic violence. So the charity Refuge spotted these stats and realised there was a real risk that unless we tackled it, these young people could grow up thinking this was acceptable. But how do you target this group? They have the lowest consumption of traditional mainstream media like TV, but they have the highest consumption of online and social media. Their social networks are really influential. They trust their friends. So Refuge focused on a vehicle, YouTube, that was already an existing part of a teen girl's media environment. They were already there and familiar with YouTube, as well as being something that was accessible to the wider audience and so could create a wider conversation and debate. And they chose a spokesperson who was already directly engaged with over 450,000 people, the majority of whom are young females aged 13 to 24-year-olds. So on the 2nd of July 2012, Lauren Luke, the high-profile social media makeup artist, famous for teaching young girls across the world how to do smoky eyes and how to look like Angelina Jolie, posted her latest tutorial clip, a clip casually called How to Look Your Best the Morning After.
Hiya everyone, I'm sorry I haven't been online much lately, but I'm back, I'm here. I've had a bit of a rough time, but I'm going to be doing a video today on how to cover up. I'm first going to start with some foundation. If you apply a colour that is just gently off tone with your own skin tone, you can cover any fresh bruising. So just apply it lightly to start with and you can build it up as you go. If you've got a lot of bruising from being pushed hard against a coffee table, you can gently apply layer after layer and you will cover it up slightly. I know it might hurt. Just try your best. And that's looking a little bit better so far. For my lips, I'm using a little bit more foundation. You might want to put concealer on over any splits that are caused from watches or rings. If you've got some bruising from a jealous type of partner, you can always just put your hair down to the side. If it's not long enough, don't worry, because a scarf is ideal for this. So I'm going to be using a scarf, and you can kind of hide it and cover it up, so that's perfect like that.
Now, for me, the brilliance of this video was how it subverted the expectations. These young girls had watched Lauren a million times teach them how to do their makeup. So it was familiar, but it disturbed them, and it spoke to them in a familiar way, in a place that they trust, through a person that they know. It would have been easy for Refuge to maybe even ask Lauren to come on and just speak to young people and tell them how wrong it was. They didn't do that. They chose the format that young people related to her, and they used it in a really innovative way to help talk about the issue of domestic violence amongst young women. The surprise element made it feel like you had discovered something really shocking, and therefore tapped into the social media idea of passing something on. That's certainly something I did as soon as I saw it. I passed it on, because it was as if I'd found this really subversive thing that I wanted to show to my friends. It also then made sure that this social media story in itself would become a story. So using the story about teens on social media as a way of creating a wider story about teens and domestic violence. And it started a conversation on a massive scale. And the media coverage for this was absolutely incredible. As I understand it, Refuge really thought about how they would execute the media campaign once the campaign aired. They got blanket media coverage, but particularly in the really holy grail media of women's magazines like Grazia and Stylist and Mail Online. Refuge had a really clear call to action for people to sign a petition to help get the government to fund more life-saving services, and they partnered with a magazine to mobilise that. The story went global. It hit 22 countries, and it became a rallying cry around the world. This message about not covering it up wasn't just a UK thing. It was this resonated with women everywhere. Anyone experiencing domestic violence understood this. The film had 1.5 million hits. It was shared 35,000 times on Facebook. Twitter exposure of 19 million people, with a particular skew towards that younger female demographic that they were aiming for, whereas previously it had been much more balanced between an older male and female demographic, and media coverage that reached 73 million people. It even impacted, I believe, on some donations, even though that wasn't even the purpose of the campaign, it just had that power. But most importantly, and the whole aim of the campaign, was to start conversations. It was to give people who, until this point, had been experiencing these issues and hadn't had a platform, hadn't been given a voice, to finally speak out and share their story. And for me, most importantly, and why I think it's a really important campaign, is it used these conversations, all of that coverage, all of that momentum on social media and on PR, to convince 6,000 people affected by domestic violence to take a step to help themselves, by contacting Refuge's services either through their web pages or their helpline. So why do I wish I'd done it? For me, it's just an example of a truly targeted campaign, insight-driven, creative and innovative. They went to the audience and talked to them in their language, as well as in developing a really powerful piece of content. I think there's a lot of relevance for Macmillan. We really want to start thinking about reaching out to younger people. And we've got to learn that you've got to go and talk to them. You can't expect them to come to you. And you've got to be brave and bold and thought-provoking. And if we really want to get cut through and start speaking to new people. So for me, overall, it was a masterclass in effective, impactful communications, and I wish I thought of it.